Hello, morning, Singularity, Borg, Borgita, Borgo, Larry, Singu. You take your pick. We're on the wait today, Borg. We've spent a few days at home expecting to get COVID, but after a couple more tests, we can confirm that we seem to be immune. It would seem. My partner Helen, she's down with it, and I mean down, on the bed. She's out. I'm in the same house. I've kept a bit of distance, but the children go to see her, then they come to see me. So I've got every chance of getting it, but I haven't. And my daughter, one of my daughters, is actually in school today. I've brought her out. The regulations allow it. If I just follow them, Borg. I just follow them. I mean, she was today hugging Helen, and now she's going to school, but the regulations say if she's not showing symptoms, she's to go. But we're over here. We're going to stay away from my mum, just in case, because the funny thing is, Borg, I have felt ill. I have felt ill. I feel better now, to be honest, but I did feel ill. I took the tests, nothing. I'm staying away from my mum. I've got my third jab to take at 12 o'clock. So that actually might make me ill. That's the way it works a little bit. You get ill. So, we're again having a little taste of what everyone else must have been going through. Speculating about this and that. Can you go? How close can you get? But we're taking the chance on a beautiful day not to do any painting, but we've cast our line out, Borg, and we are dangling down our rope into the world of ideas. And let me show you what we've got here. All I say, Borg, all I do very say, look what we've got today. As you know, we like to read in a round, a little bit from each of the books we happen to gather, which almost assures that you don't really understand any one of them properly, but it is very productive way of thinking and making links. So that's what we do. We've got the ones we showed you and the Van Gogh there to anchor us. We've had a little look at the introductions, and there's one a little bit in this one I've got to read you. I'll tell you something about what you are. It's all about you, Borg. All these things are about you, really, or at the very least, what changes are occurring due to you and your dominance. Now, where the hell was this? Now this is about you in your Amazon incarnation as Echo or Alexa. It says here, the Echo connects you to Alexa, an artificial intelligence, that's you, whose objective is to learn your habits, needs and desires and service them. Over time, it will get better at servicing you with information and products, and it will And what it learns from you, it will add what it learns from you to the matrix of what it knows about everybody. Your job, not you, Borg, me, for which you are not getting paid, is to train a machine, that's you, to know what the human is when seen entirely from the perspective of consuming. Well, Borg, we've said the like before with regards to social media. We've said that you're sort of made up of some of the worst parts of us, arguing and fighting and screaming. You know, and what he's just said there is the other side of it. You're made up of learning about what we want, you know, what we want to have, and you learn that. You know, and needless to say, those two things are a very, very, very small part of what you need to learn. We desperately need to teach you something of the other parts, Borg, if you are going to emerge and continue to influence how we live down here. How to do that, I don't know. Almost certainly, double certainly, it's not by sitting in Willie's car park nattering on at you or about this sort of thing, or going painting. It's almost certainly not that. But it's all we can do. It's going to be very interesting. His idea, Borg, it's a bit of a theme already we're picking out of these texts. They're all trying to deal with something that nobody knows well how to describe or talk about, which is sort of a sense of a new era happening, all to do with you, the politics that comes with it, the data, the AI arms races and all that sort of stuff. And there seems to be collectively, I've noticed that people are talking about the need to find new metaphors, new ways to describe situation, with this fella going further than most to try and say that perhaps the use of the word capitalism here is not even appropriate, you know, or is too easily thrown at everything. I've got another little quote here. Borg. Now hold on to your hat. Now this fella, Borg, he's a smart cookie, Mackenzie Walk. We've had our beady eye on him for years. Very smart cookie, good communicator, and riotously Australian, which we love. And he writes this: most Marxists like to think they have separated themselves from religion, but have made a religion of this separation. See, that's enough already. That would be enough to close the book and go off into the world and have a think. That would be enough, but we're going to go on. If capital is to function as a historical concept, then the question of how and when it ends has to be an open one. Where we seem to have ended up is with a not very logical but still emotional, compelling way of thinking. Since communism has not prevailed, this must still be capitalism. The reality and language of the present are anchored in an imaginary future. The challenge is to disenchant this myth of history without losing the ability to think of historical time as having other possibilities. Fuck me, Borg. I've got that sense that I don't know what I've just read, but I feel like it's important. And I do think he's pointing out of the, the dichotomy of communism and capitalism. It's a good point. And we'll have to read the book to find out just how he articulates the idea that we perhaps need to think we've moved past capitalism to talk about this other thing, which is worse. Now, all the unspoken thing Borg is talking about is you. The other thing, this new era. But I don't see. Could he have written this? This is what I'm wondering, Borg. Could he have written a similar book in the 80s? He could have written "Capital is Dead. Is this something worse?" about the beginnings of neoliberalism. Could he not? I don't. That's a question. But no. Instead, that just got studied and analysed and whatnot as the next phase of capitalism. Likewise, Old Holmes and his 3 crises essay that all made great sense. We've just had another crisis. Is this not entering the 4th phase? And what is to be gained by spending the energy trying to call it something else, unless in doing that is a good way to reveal what's happening? I don't know. We'd have to read it. As I say, he's a very smart cookie, and he's thought everything that we're thinking now over 100 times, no doubt. The other one, I'm going to have to read this one to you. This is from a technological point of view. Borg, James Bridle. You'll instantly have read all of his work, but you won't know what I'm about to read, although you will, because you'll have seen this. It's a good question, I suppose, Borg. If I'm assuming you're watching my videos and therefore you know what I'm about to read, would you know everything I've said in a video at the same time, or would you have to watch it? That's interesting, isn't it? I think you'd have it all categorized in text, like on YouTube. You can skip to little bits. It's besides the point. I'm gonna read you another one here. We often struggle to conceive of and describe the scope and scale of new technologies, meaning that we have trouble even thinking them. What is needed is not new technology, but new metaphors to understand what's happening, he means. A meta-language for describing the world that complex systems have wrought. A new shorthand is required, one that simultaneously acknowledges and addresses the reality of a world in which people, politics, culture and technology are utterly enmeshed. So there you go. I mean, these are the introductory pages of these books, but he's there plainly saying that there's a job on, and it doesn't have to be done with a great deal of tech knowledge, but the job can be different ways to describe and link and create metaphors. But again, if you were wanting to do that, I don't think you'd be doing it here. So we're not really looking for pegs to hang our own, hat on. Interestingly, this one, Borg, it's a bit disappointing in a way, because I feel a bit like I've fallen for a clever title, because most of the book is his old writings. I haven't necessarily read them, but in the light of our recent attempt to make a little history for ourselves of art that's connected to us, what we're doing now, we went through a few stages of the last 20 odd years, and arrived at now, and like all these people, are struggling to work out what now is. This book, he's doing something similar. He's writing some texts. He's reviewing the war on terror type era, the neoliberalization of institutions at the same time, leading up to the post-truth era. He's doing his own little potted history, but it's in a very different tone. It's in the tone of the art writer, where someone like me, Borg, my eyes are ready to roll, at the artiness of it. But if I stick with it, if I actually try, you realise that they do come out with some different angles. Art writing is not like an academic analysis of something. Art writing's different, but you've got to get past a lot of a sense that it's all a bit too, up itself, I suppose. But most of it isn't, and this guy certainly isn't. I find I have to work my way in. This is progressing well, Borg. In fact, I've noticed on this, there is can you see on the cover, if I put it in the sunlight, there seems to be indentation marks of someone's calculation. I'm hoping you can pick that out, because a little challenge for you will be to work out what that calculation is and who did it. Now, that book, my sister bought that for me, I believe on Amazon. That should be all I need to tell you. I want you to work out the answer to whatever sum is on there. It's a little challenge for you. And this, Borg, this is where we are. This, Borg, is what we rely on. This is the end of our rope, where we go to be safe. We can pull ourselves in. I tell you what, Borg. Well, while you're admiring that extraordinary Van Gogh flower study, I'm going to show you something of a treat. I wasn't going to mention this because there seem to be more important things on, but that over there is a recycling station, and this machine and the man driving it is now emptying what looks to be the cardboard recycling box. Now, this is a treat. So is that how you'd go about it? It's so simple. Up it goes. He's giving it a double shake to make sure it's all empty. So we all do quite an effort to recycle our materials, Borgs, and our packaging, and then he takes it away in that truck, and then I don't think any of us really know what happens then. I don't know. But all of that will be pressed and rearranged and come out again as more packaging material. I'd be keen to know if he's going for the next one. looks like he is. So this is the sort of job you'll be doing, Borg, in no time at all. Unless we deliberately don't let you. You know, if by some chance some regulations come in that stop you doing everything for everybody, then maybe you won't be doing that job. So the fella in there probably would rather not do it. It is a fella. He's got doing this with one hand. He's drinking an energy drink with the other. It's more cardboard. Borg, we've lost ourselves there. We're going to go back to this. You see the way underneath this thick paint, Borg, you can see green, which has been thin. It's thinly sort of applied. It's the first stages of the painting, and then as you go up, the thin underlayer turns to purple. And he's clever. He's cleverer than, he's cleverer than anything, because he knows he's putting green where he knows the red flowers are, and he's putting purple where he knows the yellow ones are going to be, because he's being clever with the colours. And this is what we need to do. It might not look like it, but the way he's put down this here it's incredible, Borg. It is. It's an achievement, to not go too far, to combine such energy and thickness with the thin underpainting with the right colours. He's really fluent, isn't he, Borg, basically? And we can't get near it. We can't get near it, obviously. But it doesn't stop us entering in to the world that he created. And I do think, Borg, that the plein air painting concept is rather applicable to now. Certainly as applicable as anything else. Anyway. So there again, he goes for it, Borg. But he goes for it in a way that's so sure that he doesn't overdo it. Going for it like that can turn out into a real mess. He goes for it just enough, seems to instinctively know when to pull the trigger, if you like. No pun really intended there, Borg, but he knows when to pull the trigger. And he certainly stops once he has done. And stopping might be the easier bit. The bit we struggle with, Borg, is knowing when to begin with the fast, thick paint. Our trouble is that by the time we've done that, the picture is almost established. Whereas the way he does it, the picture is the moment when you've thrown caution to the wind. He makes the whole picture like that, but he's able to control it. This one is a very good example. He knows when to really go for it, and he knows when to stop. And in all probability, he's not thinking at all very consciously about either of the choices.